A troubled and tragic past, a hopeful and optimistic vision of the future. Native American Heritage Month is a time to celebrate all aspects of Native American life, from where it has come from to where it will go in the future. Join us as we examine some of the more interesting and unexpected points from a rich culture. The month of November is designated as Native American Heritage Month in the United States, and those 4 weeks of every year are an opportunity to celebrate Native Americans, both past and present, as well as the history and culture of Native American tribes throughout the continent, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. In honor of the coming month of celebration and remembrance, here are some intriguing facts about Native American history. Before we delve into the fascinating world of Native American culture, if you're interested in early access to videos and live chats with the creator of Intrigued Mind, consider subscribing to our Patreon. Your support will greatly help us keep the channel producing more intriguing content. Tribes and languages. North America is home to about 30 million Native Americans, with almost 600 tribes in the United States and Alaska alone, and 100 more in Canada and Mexico. These range from the Mayas of southern Mexico to the Inupiat of northwestern Alaska. The largest of the modern Native American tribes is the Navajo, which has more than 400,000 members, and the Navajo Nation, also known as Navajo Land, is the largest Native American reservation in the United States at 25,000 square miles, twice the size of Maryland and roughly the same area as West Virginia. The Navajo surpassed the previous largest tribe, the Cherokee, which counts more than 300,000 members among its number, and are centered primarily in the state of Oklahoma in 2021. In the United States alone, more than 300 land areas are recognized as Native American tribal lands, constituting more than 56 million acres of the continent. Almost 9 million acres of land in Canada are recognized as tribal reserves, which may sound substantive, but in fact covers less than 1% of Canadian territory. While the larger reservations, like the Navajo, naturally tend to be more prominent in coverage of Native American culture, it might surprise most people to learn that many Native American tribal reservations are less than 1,000 acres in size, and the smallest known reservation is the parcel of land making up the Pit River Tribe Cemetery at Likely Rancheria in Modoc County, California, which is just 1.32 acres in area, or a little over 5,300 square meters. History of Native American Heritage Commemoration. The genesis of Native American Heritage Month began with the formation of the Society of American Indians in Columbus, Ohio in 1911. The society was formed to both highlight the struggles and aspirations of modern Native Americans and to try and ease the process of finding a means by which Native Americans and the ever-growing United States could live side by side. In 1914, a member of the Blackfoot tribe named Red Fox James set off on horseback from Montana to rally support for a national day in honor of American Indians. Traveling south and then east along the newly opened Lincoln Highway, and often walking to preserve his single mount, James gave speeches and performed feats of horsemanship in the towns and cities that he passed through on his way east. In December that year, James arrived in Washington, D.C., where he presented President Woodrow Wilson with the signatures of 24 state governments in support of his petition for a day of Indian commemoration. Though Wilson did not in the end create a federal day of recognition, James's story was publicized by newspapers of the period, and he received the backing of the Boy Scouts of America, who declared their own Indian Day, and local chapters in Washington escorted him to his meeting with the president. Less than 2 years later, New York became the first state to inaugurate a commemoration when Governor Charles Seymour Whitman declared the second Saturday in May as American Indian Day. Illinois followed with its own day of celebration in 1919, and other states took up the practice in the following decades. This culminated in the United States Congress declaring May 13, 1983 as American Indian Day. In 1986, President Ronald Reagan proclaimed the last week of November to be American Indian Week. This was later extended to the full month of November by President George H.W. Bush in 1990, and the title of commemoration was altered to Native American Heritage Month in order to better reflect modern nomenclature and sensibilities. The tradition has been upheld by all subsequent United States presidents, with the exception of President Donald Trump, who in 2019 controversially changed the name of the commemoration to Native American and Founders Heritage Month. The miracle that is corn. While it might not be the first thing that springs to mind when one thinks of Native Americans, one of the most significant contributions to modern life came about from the Native American tribes of pre-Columbian America. Corn was first cultivated more than 8,000 years ago, after years of selectively breeding the teosinte plant, a type of grass that has hardly any resemblance to the modern crop. The level of work and application that would have been necessary to breed and maintain an artificial plant so different from its wild forebear in the harsh landscape of southern and western Mexico is difficult to fathom. Even today, corn does not reproduce without human assistance. By the time of the arrival of European explorers in the 16th century, corn, or maize, was grown across the American continent, and this staple of the Native American tribes also became a staple of the modern world as the centuries progressed. To quote the Anglo-American writer Bill Bryson, cornstarch is nowadays used in fizzy drinks, chewing gum, ice cream, peanut butter, ketchup, automobile paint, embalming fluid, gunpowder, insecticides, deodorants, soap, potato crisps, surgical dressings, nail polish, foot powder, salad dressing, and several hundred things more. To borrow from Harvard professor Michael Pollan, it is not so much as if we have domesticated corn as it has domesticated us. Corn has become a staple food of many societies worldwide and accounts for almost 20% of worldwide caloric needs. Now that's something to think about while munching on a corn dog at a Heritage Month fair. Native American casinos. One of the most interesting aspects of 21st century Native American reservations is the superlative success of native casinos. The reservation gambling industry is worth $39 billion and operates in 29 American states, with the employment and wealth injection giving many native tribes and communities a boost of prosperity in otherwise harsh economic climates. While this thriving sector is well known the world over, the fact that the huge Native American gambling industry arose from a dispute regarding a $30 property tax ticket might not be familiar to many people. It began in early 1972 at the home of Helen and Russell Bryan on the Leech Lake Indian Reservation in north-central Minnesota. The Bryans had recently moved into a new skyline trailer home on the reservation and were surprised one day when a stranger approached the property, measured their trailer, and then left with no explanation of the purpose of his visit. Sometime later, a tax notice arrived, billing the Bryans $29.85 in property tax. With 5 children living in the 2-room trailer and Russell Bryan out of work, the family was unable to pay the charge. The state continued to add to the tax bill, eventually charging the family $118 for the year of 1972, plus the earlier bill of $29.85 for 2 months of 1971. The family's mortgage bill on the trailer was $90 a month, so this was effectively adding an extra month and a half of mortgage payments to their expenditure for the year, and they were unable to meet it. The Bryans took their case to the recently opened Leech Lake Reservation Legal Services Project, which filed a complaint with the Minnesota District Court in Itasca County. The presiding judge ruled in the county's favor, stating that the residents of Leech Lake had the rights of Minnesota citizens, including the right to vote, and as such, obligations like property taxes also applied to them. The Bryans, with the help of the Leech Lake Legal Services team, along with others, eventually took their case to the Supreme Court of the United States, which ruled that not only did the state not have the right to tax Native Americans who lived on reservations, but the United States government did not have the right to make regulations on sovereign reservation land. This judgment was passed in 1976, and though it had a major effect on the issue of tribal sovereignty, it also had a near-instant impact on the economy of the reservation areas. The Seminole tribe were the first to test the new laws when they began running bingo halls that offered higher prizes than were allowed under Florida state law, as well as longer opening hours. When the state was unable to shut down the bingo halls, other tribes followed suit around the country, and subsequently began offering more games and eventually even resorts for guests to avail of on longer stays. Today, there are more than 500 casinos on tribal reservations, and together they generate almost half of all gaming revenue in the United States. A startling and transformative number that has affected countless lives. Largest Native American Museum. While the 500,000 square foot WinStar World Casino and Resort located in Oklahoma is the largest Native American casino, the largest museum experience dedicated to celebrating and remembering Native American history and culture is the Mashantucket Pequot Museum and Research Center in Connecticut, first opened in 1998. It recreates pre- and post-Columbian life in Native American villages and depicts the once thriving civilization of Northeast Native Americans in vivid detail through exhibits, lifelike models, and organized tours and lectures at its 320-seater hall. The Pequot were just one of many tribes that dwindled in number to near extinction in the early 20th century, but today are enjoying a resurgence, with numbers growing and economic success owing to their hospitality endeavors, as well as a determined focus of reviving the ancient language that was thought lost for centuries, using academic research and collaboration with neighboring tribes. It is a story of perseverance and resolute spirit through centuries of hardship, and it is one that will be recounted in many forms over the month of remembrance that Red Fox James rode across the continent to champion more than a century ago. We hope you enjoyed this brief look at some interesting facts as we celebrate Native American Heritage Month. There are countless other amazing stories of Native American history, both recent and ancient. Let us know in the comments if you would like us to look into anything specific. For more videos on the most amazing forgotten parts of our history, be sure to subscribe to the Intrigued Mind channel, like the video, and leave your suggestions in the comments below.